As I stand here and I have my computer opened in Forbes.com, and I see that WWE has had the most successful second quarter this year that they've ever had. Just reading, revenues increased 31% to 281 million, which is the highest quarterly revenue in WWE history. They just signed a mega deal with Fox for SmackDown, 540 million for TV rights until 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Their stock price is just so high. So this is my favorite story to follow for the last few years now, is just to see this dichotomy between their business success and the quality of the program that they put out, especially when you consider that I don't think they've ever had such a talented roster on their hands. When you just make the sum of the talent you see on Raw, on SmackDown, and on NXT and 205 Live, WWE has never had such a talented roster. But then you take a look at the quality of the booking and the quality of the storylines they put forward. It's anything but innovative. It's anything but provocative to the wrestling fan that has followed for many years. And I'm obviously the worst example possible of that. My expectations are really high because not only have I been a fan for a long time, I work as a booker in an indie promotion. So if you just send me out to see the most cookie cutter type of wrestling possible, I'm going to be interested for like 2 or 3 minutes. So I'll recognize right off the bat that I'm the worst possible example for a company that is targeting clearly casual fans more than diehard fans. That said, you take a look at products like NXT and a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff that you see on the network, that's clearly geared way more for fans like me than for casual fans of WWE, especially kids fans. But that's actually one of the biggest things WWE has been able to do in the last few years, which is change their targeting. Someone like me who studied marketing and business strategy for a long time, that's actually good to see. You can argue that you can take a lot of lessons from WWE in terms of their product if you're running a wrestling product, a pure wrestling product, but you can take a lot of lessons in terms of marketing and business. If you remember in 98, 99, 2000s, which again, you can argue, it's one of the best times for WWE in terms of programming. It had innovation. Every single week you saw something new and provocative. But the targeting was for the older teenager and for the young adult, and maybe you can go as far as adults in general, because the product was very edgy. Now you're focusing towards kids and a kids-friendly product and a politically correct product. This allowed for a major switch that is very important to the business success of WWE today. And that is, when you're targeting young adults with the kind of product WWE had, which was more edgy, but it was still wrestling, and it still had a lot of the stigma that wrestling has, you can't sell a lot of advertising. Or rather, you can sell it, but the price you're selling it at to advertisers isn't nearly as high as WWE can sell it today. And I think that's one of the major reasons for WWE being kids-friendly today, is the ability to sell advertising space and to get more sponsors. You take a look at the sponsors WWE has today, it has nothing to do with the sponsors they had in 98, 99, where their product was way more successful and way more accepted by hardcore wrestling fans than it is today. I don't think there's any question about that. Well, this is what's been going well for WWE. Their revenues have never been higher. The network has grown, not as much as they wanted it to grow, but it's been growing and growing. But I think we can say that the product itself, it's not really looking fantastic. It kind of reminds me of McDonald's in a way. Sometimes I tell my friends, the people I work with in WP Wrestling Portugal, our promotion here in Portugal, WWE reminds me of It's like the McDonald's of wrestling. It all seems standardized. It all seems that like every week you see almost the same thing. They're not really worried about innovation. It looks like they're trying to be just very, very consistent. Now, me personally, I don't go to McDonald's. In the last 10 years, I must have gone 2 times when I started a new job in an ad agency and I wanted to get to know everybody. And sometimes they would go to the McDonald's, so once or twice I went. I didn't particularly like the experience. When I like to eat a hamburger, I go to a local burger place. They do a way better job. They even have new burgers I don't know if it's every week or every month, but they're clearly worried about bringing new things whenever they can. And having burgers that are, well, let's put it this way. You've tried a McDonald's burger, and if you compare it to your favorite burger place, probably that's around the corner or a few blocks away, you know what I'm talking about. You know that their focus on quality, on being different, on trying new things, getting you the best hamburger possible, is way different than McDonald's. McDonald's is about consistency. Even if that means that the level of quality they put out isn't a 10 and 10, it's a 5 and 10. This reminds me a lot of WWE. You can also ironically, sarcastically just make the comment that I saw on Heelbook a few days ago, which is, I remember seeing this comment, and I've seen it before, but it's always funny, which is, you could probably take a lot more out of WWE if you just think that it's just one guy playing with his action figures. That guy being Vince McMahon. And if you frame WWE within that, it's obviously a little easier to follow if you really want to make the effort. And let's be honest, from my end, I see less and less WWE all the time. I just read the reports of Raw and SmackDown. I just open cagesideseats.com and take a look, so I consider myself updated. And that's about it. If there's a very strong segment, and I get the idea that the Cage Side Seats guys putting it over, I try to watch it on YouTube, but not more than that. So just to get back on point, this probably for me is the most interesting story about WWE, because we've always associated the success of your wrestling business to the quality of your booking, the quality of your storylines, the quality of the performers you put out there. But WWE has managed to come up with a business model where you still need the talent, you still need the production value, but the key things are not the product itself, but the way it's tailored to a certain target audience, and how that makes WWE be able to reach out to certain sponsors and certain advertisers and be able to sell their own product to major networks like Fox. This is a game that WWE hasn't been in for a long time. I think the last time they tried things with a big network was with NBC when they did a few, I can't remember the name of the show right now, but it was a variation of Saturday Night's Main Event. And before that, you'd have to go back to the early 90s, late 80s to see WWE involved with a major TV network that wasn't on cable, that was a major network. And WWE is getting back to that. And not because their numbers in terms of TV ratings are where they were in 98 and 99, where they were way bigger. They're doing it because their business strategies changed. And this is a very interesting thing for me, because I would never ever watch a 3-hour Raw, because I just can't. It's just too frustrating for me as a fan, I couldn't be more of a fan of wrestling, because I've gotten to a point where I'm not just a fan. I've had my own wrestling page for a few years. I've been involved with being a booker on more than one stint. So WWE is clearly not for me, except for maybe NXT. But these guys are making boatloads of money. They've never made more. So this might be something that wrestling companies could take a look at, which is how can our business strategy change for us to make more money? And I'm guilty of this too, because I am permanently thinking of how I can make my product more successful by changing and tweaking storylines and bringing in new talent, and not necessarily making uh, sometimes subtle, sometimes more strategic tweaks to the business. So I guess that's it. Obviously, I'd love to know what you think, so leave me a comment.